not looking for any type of technical experience. We're not looking for individuals that want to buy themselves a job. We're looking for individuals that want to scale a profitable business. And that starts by casting vision and being able to lead a team. You will have employees day one. I mean, we start out with 3 to 5 employees. You have some techs in the back. You have a front office person, potentially an outside salesperson as well. So you need to be able to have those managerial skills. Any type of auto experience is typically actually not what we look for, because then sometimes you have to train out of bad habits that way. And we'd rather someone to come in with more of this leadership experience to cast vision and drive the business forward.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of Fran Coach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of Fran Coach and your podcast host. Today, we have a guest coming in, one of our franchise partners. This is a pretty well-established name brand, something many of you have probably heard of, probably many of you have been a customer of. But today, we're going to talk more about, one, what it's like to own this particular franchise, but also how it has grown and evolved from a product offering from one proprietary thing to now a whole bunch of things, and how that can benefit their owners. So we are going to get to that guest here in a moment, right after we remind you quickly of who we are at Fran Coach. Fran Coach is the premier franchise consulting firm. Our number one goal is to properly educate you on franchise ownership to determine if you should own one. And if so, we're going to help you find your absolute best fit. Our educational approach ensures we focus on the client's best interest. We are not here to sell you a franchise. In fact, we don't sell anything. Finding the best franchise to own is an incredibly personalized and individualized process that can only work with a team of experts focused on what is truly most important. That's you. Fran Coach, our services are always 100% free to use, so reach out to our team. Click the QR code or find us at francoach.net. Now, let's get back to the show. Hey, everyone. We are back on the Franchising 101 podcast and excited to have a guest today. We are going to talk about a brand that, honestly, I want to learn a little bit more about here. So we have joining us the Vice President of Franchise Development for a franchise called Line X, Miss Hannah Erlenbusch. Hannah, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Tim. Happy to be here.
I've got a whole slew of questions for you about Line X, so be ready for the massive interrogation we're going to do with you. But I always like kind of hearing everybody's story, and particularly kind of how they got into this crazy world of franchising. So give everybody a little bit of the Hannah scoop.
Sure, I would love to. So I've been in franchising just shy of 10 years. I fell into this actually after I was laid off from I was in like a call center sales environment, and I was laid off. And unbeknownst to me, my uncle was in franchising. I knew he was in business, but I didn't realize that it was a franchise business. And I kind of called my uncle and said, "Hey, do you have a job for me? I just got laid off." And he said, "Actually, I think we might have an admin position, but I'm not going to interview you." So he introduced me to the president of that company at the time. It was a home services window treatment brand. You may be familiar, Tim, Gotcha Covered.
Yes.
And I started out as franchise development admin. I was answering territory checks, had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but learned along the way, moved my way into development. Ended up recruiting a top producer at that organization that ended up being a 3-store owner, multi-million dollars in revenue. So I was there for about 7 years, and then most recently was recruited over to Line X to lead their franchise development engine. And now I have a team of 2 franchise development managers and empowering the growth here.
Excellent. I love how almost everybody in this industry has some kind of random story that is, there's no true intent of like waking up one day, I'm like, on my vision board, I've got get into franchising. It's just, it kind of ends up there. And then here we are 10 years later and still trucking right along. So, which trucking right along, maybe no pun intended, for you are now, again, Vice President of Franchise Development for Line X. Tell us, and again, a product that probably a lot of people from a consumer standpoint know about, but share with everybody kind of what the heck Line X is and think of it more from a consumer standpoint to start with.
Sure. Yeah. So our claim to fame, we've been franchising for just over 30 years, and we actually pioneered high pressure, high temperature spray coatings. And over the last 30 years, we've become the most recognized name in bedliners. So when you think of a truck and you think about the bed of a truck, there's a lot of different ways that you can protect the bed of the truck. There's drop-in liners, and then there's a spray component, which is what we do. The chemical that we spray is a high pressure spray applied like polyurethane coating that chemically bonds to surfaces and cures in seconds. So it becomes an ultra durable, flexible polymer designed to absorb impact, resist abrasion, and just fully seal against moisture. Our proprietary coating is proprietary to us, so we own the intellectual property, huge competitive advantage. And we've been moving into more of vehicle upfit over the last 9 years or so. So now we offer everything from the bedliner to also aftermarket vehicle accessories. So think step-up bars, toppers, tonneau covers. We do wheels and tires and tint. We do a full 21 core service. We're like a one-stop shop vehicle upfitter now, which began as a bedliner company, has now evolved into full vehicle upfit.
Excellent. Okay. So, because my 13-year-old son is learning right now, he's a guitar player, but he's playing for whatever reason, Joe Diffie pickup band. So for anybody that doesn't know their 90s country, go ahead and check that one on Spotify. But I am not a pickup man. So so you may have to like talk a little down to me on this conversation. So is everything coming with the liners, it is basically just a kind of from a protective thing for the truck. And then now you've added all these kind of like the customization and like accessories. Is that also truck only, or can that roll into other vehicles as well?
Great question. We have services for every single vehicle on the road. I will say on the consumer standpoint, like our B2C market, 60 to 70% of the consumers coming in are more truck focused. But because we do wheels and tires and tint, we have undercoating and rust proofing. I mean, we can do everything from a sedan to a minivan. That's the B2C side. We do have an entire B2B commercial and industrial side to our business that I can definitely expand on too.
Well, no, and I was going to ask that because everybody's going to, and I think anything that touches automotive, we always think about consumers, right? And our vehicles. And if I can bring my 1974 Ford Pinto in there and you guys can pimp it out for me, that would be awesome. But the consumer side is the bigger side, but not usually by that much, right? Talk a little bit about kind of that B2B component of what Line X brings to the table.
Sure. So it's interesting. Historically, Line X's biggest B2B partner was car dealerships in a market. We're going to partner with a dealership and we're going to spray their truck beds before they sell them to the end consumer. And that's evolved. Since 2017, we launched a national account division within the franchisor entity, where now we're partnering with fleet management companies. And what does that mean? Tim, think about any of the man in a van type brands that you would be very familiar with, HVAC, electrical, window coverings, and think about the interior of these vans and the shelving and the ladder racks and even the protective coatings on the interior. That's more of our B2B target since 2017, where now our average ticket has increased quite drastically from just spraying a bed to now doing a full van upfit for these work vehicles out in the field.
Got it. So I'm guessing you may have some of your franchise owners that have clients that are franchise owners and franchisors as well, which is kind of a cool thing to be able to see in this industry.
It's so interesting how many businesses, once you get into franchising, you realize how many businesses you drive past every single day is an actual franchise opportunity.
Yeah, it's crazy. My wife's been in the industry longer than me, and she started doing this thing like about a year or so ago. That now it's funny, like everybody else is kind of like glomming onto it, but we literally just started by accident one time. It's like, oh, it's franchises in the wild, and we can be in the car, and it's like super annoying. Of like you just see all the wrapped vehicles, franchise. Oh, there's this one. Oh, there's this one. Or you pull into a plaza, and you're like, franchise, not a franchise. And most people just don't realize, because as consumers, you don't know that you really care all that much, but there's for your owners, being able to talk to another franchise owner and another brand, it's kind of like that secret handshake, right? Like, no, I get it. I'm a franchisee too. You're a franchisee. We can help you. Again, understand that for most franchises, you're really talking about the quality of product and service. And so if you're rolling into my house for whatever service and you've got this dilapidated, beat up thing, I may not be super excited about actually letting you in. And again, just also for owners in that situation, the longevity of the vehicles, you're really helping, whether it's a consumer or that business, create a good looking, longer lasting vehicle. That's, again, means they don't have to replace it sooner, correct?
Protect their investment 100%. And then especially when we're looking at the B2B side, think about all these wrapped vehicles, like you said, driving down the road, and think about the tools or the pieces of equipment that they're maybe pulling out of that vehicle. Most likely, if there's no protective coating on the interior, they're going to dent the inside, which is going to impact the wrap on the outside, which then leads to not as long of a longevity of that vehicle. So exactly, spot on.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we're looking for in an owner. So you've been in this industry a long time. There's always a myth, no matter what brand it is, that people feel like they have to have some prior experience or knowledge or things like that. Is that the case with Line X, or kind of talk about what you're looking for in an owner?
Yeah, we're not looking for any type of technical experience. We're not looking for individuals that want to buy themselves a job. We're looking for individuals that want to scale a profitable business. And that starts by casting vision and being able to lead a team. You will have employees day one. I mean, we start out with 3 to 5 employees. You have some techs in the back. You have a front office person, potentially an outside salesperson as well. So you need to be able to have those managerial skills. So yeah, any type of auto experience is typically actually not what we look for, because then sometimes you have to train out of bad habits that way. And we'd rather someone to come in with more of this leadership experience to cast vision and drive the business forward.
So I like how you said that. Like, there's the industry experience tends to be the bad habits, and they're like going to be smarter than the brand and all of those things. But for somebody that, let's say I'm going to come in as a potential Line X owner, and I am not remotely a car person. I've like never once like owned a pickup truck in my life, right? But I'm hearing you say like, hey, Tim, that doesn't matter. Do you have these particular skills in here? I'm presumably smart enough to learn about the product and what's going on. And so talk about how you would take, again, somebody like me that doesn't maybe know much about this at all, and then some of the steps and kind of resources you guys to have to help me learn.
Sure. So we do have a very in-depth 4-phase training process. This includes classroom style training. It includes technical how-to training, and it also includes training on the job at the facility. So the first week of training is really designed for owners and any type of managerial staff. And that's going to be more about, HR, best practices, how to use our internal platforms and systems. We're very forward thinking when it comes to technology and AI. I mean, that's a big, buzzword, but we're actually using it to the advantage of our franchisees. We have a lifetime warranty on our products. So we talk through all of these pieces and the core needs as a business owner, especially when it comes to the business development piece and being out in your community and making sure that people understand that you exist and who you are. There's then technical training, which happens in a large 300,000 square foot facility that we have, where it's still the owner. It's important for you to understand and kind of see and feel the way that we install these types of services, products and services, but it's also for a lead tech. So you'll bring a lead tech with you, and we're training, you're suiting up and you're learning how to spray, you're learning on how to install accessories, whether it's step up bars, our tint company comes as well, undercoating and rust proofing. That's another full week. And then we come to your shop for 2 other phases of training, which is setting up the back of your shop with all of your equipment, training your techs on a shop vehicle that you would have, like fully coating the bed and doing some aftermarket accessory training there. And then front office or front of the house training as well, of like customer engagement, how to use our point of sale, and making sure that your shop layout is designed in the most efficient way possible. Because the worst thing you can do is be on one side of your shop and your tech needs a wrench and it's clear across the other side of your shop, right? You want to be as efficient as possible.
Got it. So love that. So the moral of that story, tons of training on everything, and always like usually a whole bunch of things that people are like,
Oh, I didn't even know I needed to think about that, of just the organizational structure of where everything is. Um, Talk about the location that owners need. What does that look like, size, and then also kind of roll into how do you guys help with that?
So this is a retail facility, but it needs to have some shop space as well. So our average is about 5 to 7,000 square feet. We can get away with 3,500 square feet, but that's pretty tight. Depending on the availability, the real estate availability in the market, that's going to depend on where you are. And also we think a lot through the lens of profitability metrics too. If we find a fantastic class A facility that's right, in front of in front of a high visibility road, but hey, it's $10,000 more a month. Maybe we're going to look for something a little bit tucked away, so that way we can get you to on that path to profitability as quickly as possible without, impacting any type of standards that we have for our facilities. We do partner with a real estate company, a commercial real estate company that can help with, leasehold improvements, LOIs. I just received an LOI from a candidate or a new franchisee that is in onboarding, and they negotiated their first 6 months, rent free. So those are things that we definitely help with when securing a site.
And I think of all the things that people, when you start a franchise, the first thing I tell people when they sign a franchise, well, first is congratulations, right? And second is, I need you to be dumb right now at the beginning, right? Like, you are going to be drinking from a fire hose. Don't act like you're smarter than the franchisor, because you're not. But the main thing to follow a plan is the real estate, because again, we've all been in, most franchise owners have been some level of leadership and they've got certain level of skills and experience, but what they've rarely ever done is find and negotiate commercial real estate leases, right? And so utilize that team and just smile and nod over and over and over. Do not, I'm sure you guys have tons of stories and have seen it over the years of, like, when people go rogue there, it never ends up very well. So
You don't open in time, right? And that's what's so important is our goal is to get you open within 9 to 12 months. And the way you do that is by using our real estate support and by using our design and construction support, because they've done it. It's copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And there's no education needed when using our resources.
yeah. And it's the expense that can't change once you start it. Right. Like, we're going to blast out the marketing and go crazy on a marketing budget at the beginning. Well, eventually you may be able to dial that back because of the reputation you've built and all of those things, but yet your lease is still not conducive. Right. So, love that. Talk a little bit then, kind of, you mentioned a little bit of this of kind of, we've got the owner, but what do we start out with from a staff perspective? What's that look like?
Yeah, typically you'll have a spray tech. You'll have two techs in the back. You'll have a spray tech, and you'll have an accessory tech. You'll have a front office person, and then it depends. If you are going to be involved more hands-on in your business, you're acting more as that, manager of the facility, and then you're more of like a float and potentially doing some outside sales work too, or I don't want to say outside sales, it's more of this outside business development piece. But what's really interesting is the type of consumer that comes to our business can typically lead itself to a B2B opportunity. There's so much business development that can happen within the four walls of this business. Now, if the owner does not want to be there every day, we do have a semi-absentee path if there is a manager that they're going to employ, day one. And typically we talk through, compensation and how to make sure a manager sticks around and actually spends probably not as much energy as you would building your own business, but at least a certain level, depending on how they're compensated. So that could add an extra layer of an employee to you as well.
Well, and you talk about kind of the business development side, right? Like, you're not knocking on doors going, hey, do you want to buy my car? Hey, do you want to get your truck lined? But those strategic partnerships, again, you're going to see them driving all over the place from that standpoint. And then if there's a business and they've got, even if it's 5 vehicles that they come in, the business is paying for, how many people within that business, employees, owners, they've got their own trucks, right? All of a sudden now you're just going to get more. It's the bigger ticket of the business, and then all the individuals that are going along with it. Right. So
yeah, it all feeds itself. You're right, Tim. Exactly. And think about this too. You have 5 Sprinter vans sitting in your parking lot waiting to get serviced, and a fleet manager drives by, and this has happened before. Oh, Linux, I had no idea you did fleet upfitting.
Right.
We need some help.
So, 'cause I'm guessing that's also a lot of, because there's over time because of expanded product offerings, which is great, but also then creates the educational component of like, hey, did you also know we did this, and this, right? So whether that's the owner, a manager, or whatever, of just a lot of kind of educating even your clients, hey, you came in to do this. Most of the time, or I'm sure some of them, they didn't even understand all the other things they could get there, right?
100%. We are well known in the bedliner space. We pretty much don't spend any marketing dollars on running ads for bedliners because we're well known. I mean, people drive right past our competitors to get to us for that type of a service, whether it's B2C or B2B. And now the education piece comes in. Our ad fund is distributed very strategically. We distribute our ad fund within a 15-mile radius of our operating shops for paid digital ads. And all of those ads are more towards accessories, aftermarket accessories, and everything else that we now offer. And then a big education piece too is when the consumer walks in for a bedliner, maybe there's a package deal. Hey, do you know you could get a step-up bar, you get a topper, you get a tonneau cover for now a package because we do all of these things as well. You've trusted us for 30 years for the protective coating side of our business. Now trust us for these other pieces of your vehicle upfit.
What if your 9-to-5 job didn't last forever? What if there was a better way to create professional success? Your way, without fear of layoffs or downsizing? What if I told you that it's all possible through franchise ownership? Franchise ownership gives you a proven playbook to execute, so you can be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. But with thousands of franchises out there, how do you know which is the best one for you? That's where FranCoach comes in. FranCoach will help build out your ideal business model based on your talents, skills, and core values. Then use our proprietary knowledge of the franchises to bring curated options based on what you want, and then guide you through the vetting process until we find your best match. Individualized, personalized, and 100% free to you. Ready to control your future? Scan the QR code or visit francoach.net and let FranCoach help create your better tomorrow.
Talk about the longevity of the business is huge, and the brand recognition, all of those things. But you've not always been a franchise this entire time, right? So talk about kind of that transition. There's no way in the world that was 100% smooth and rainbows and unicorns transition. But talk a little bit about that, and then some of the benefits that it's now bringing for your existing owners, but obviously anybody else coming into the system.
Sure. So when we originally started franchising, and I'll quote that, I'll use air quotes because we did have a franchise agreement, but our length, it was a 5-year term, and this was a non-royalty revenue system. It was a commission-based system. So we sold our chemical at a pretty hefty premium, and we made a commission off of all the chemical that we sold our franchisees. In 2024, we made the decision to strategically remove ourselves or no longer offer that chemical distribution partnership, and we moved to a full royalty system. Where now, Tim, you knowing franchising is now our success is dependent on our franchisees' success. It's no longer just, hey, buy chemical from us and we'll make money regardless of how much money you make. Right. So through that transition, we have ended relationships with some of our historical legacy distributor model relationships that we had previously. What this has done, though, is it's opened up a ton of territory where the brand recognition is extremely strong in this market. We may have had a location that was operating, for 10 years spraying Line-X, and now that territory is available. And I can count many, many metropolitan areas where we have consumer leads coming in. We have 300 consumer leads that we're sending 2 hours away because we don't have anyone, representing that market. So it really provides the opportunity for a new franchisee to come in and be able to capitalize on that brand recognition.
Okay. So love that. I'm going to play the other side of this. So, because we all know people going through this process, the amount of fear that pops up along the way, whether rational or not. So Hannah, I'm looking at this market. There was this legacy person. They were doing this for how many years? They're not there anymore. How do I know that they're not still they've got these relationships that maybe I should be able to get, but they're somehow holding on to them?
Sure. What is so important here is understanding that we own the intellectual property for the best protective coating that is available in our mind.
Right.
And that speaks volumes. So the fact that you now come in and you're now going to have access to a proprietary chemical or proprietary service that no one has access to any longer is going to allow you to be able to take advantage of some of these relationships based off of just the trust that's been built on the platform of our chemical.
Love it. Okay. No matter what relationships, they no longer have the product, right?
They no longer have the product. Mm-hmm.
From that standpoint. Okay. As you're talking to candidates throughout this process, and I think there are some of these that are regardless of franchise people have, but specific for Line-X, what's maybe a consistent, Hannah, I really love all this, but this is scaring the crap out of me right now. What's maybe a kind of a common concern that you hear, and then how do you kind of work people through that?
It's funny, I think what you spoke about earlier about not having auto experience, that is something that we do get quite often. And then we have to share more about, just more details about our training and how we support. And then also validation is such a critical part of our discovery process, Tim, because that's how our candidates get information on return on investment and financial profitability and EBITDA and average margins, but also being able to talk to other franchise owners that don't have auto experience and have been able to scale and build, a multi-unit 5-store platform without ever spraying a bedliner in their life.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things just in franchising is that fear of, like, when you stop and go, we always tell our clients the most important thing in this is, what are you doing every single day? Are you getting up as a Line-X owner and going in and spreading bedliners, or are you doing, like, no, will you learn it and understand it? Sure. But you're not the doer every single day. What are you doing? Right. And so that part is for sure huge. And you talked about the validation calls, which are always, to me, I think the most impactful part of this journey. They're talking to you and like, yeah, well, Hannah's awesome, but I don't know. Hannah could be a dirty liar, right? Well, we don't know. But when you talk to those owners, you're going to know for sure. You mentioned one thing, and I'm going to take a very different approach to this. With the transition and the financial things, you got to really talk to the owners, because you guys do not have an item 19 currently in the FDD. I'm going to guess that there are some times that you're talking to people that throws them off a little bit.
So yes, we do explain, and we're very upfront about the fact that we do not have an item 19 in our FDD. And the reason for this is because through our transition, we implemented a point of sale system now. So we're coming up on having about a year worth of data for about 86 of our shops that will now be able to have a robust item 19. But right now, the best way for a candidate or a potential franchisee to get that information is to talk to our current franchise owners.
Yes.
Even when you're looking at an item 19, there are segments of data. There's a lot of different ways that item 19s can be created and generated. And I believe the best way, regardless of if there's an item 19 or not, to get the true financial picture and to understand return on investment is to talk to current franchisees. So that's something we coach through heavily. That's something that we talk, you should never move forward with a franchise based on an item 19 alone. You always need to get the information from current franchisees who are actually operating these businesses. And that comes, that kind of comes full circle with what you said about fear. I welcome fear, because if you're not at least a little fearful, that means you're probably not taking it seriously.
Yes. I would be scared to death if somebody went through this whole process and like, nope, all good, like never questions or concerns. I'm like, no, I don't think that's possible. But the item 19 thing, and this is kind of timing wise is ironic, is we talk to our folks all the time about the unimportance of the FDD in particular. It's not telling you what's the best franchise to own. People go into item 7 and item 19 and think it's the end all be all, and it is not remotely. There are way too many ways for brands to manipulate the holy hell out of the item 19. And as I always will say on this show, if you're talking to a dev person and their email isn't of that brand, they're in a franchise sales organization, and be freaking where. But we literally, last week's episode was all on how to do a pro forma and this exact thing. So even if there is information in there, it's still not giving you the right bits of information and questions to ask the owners. They're going to tell you the truth, and they're going to tell you what their experience is. You still have to figure out if it's the right fit, but that's way more. In some ways, I wish they would get rid of item 19 altogether, or at least every other part of that document is uniformed except for item 19. You can do whatever the hell you want in there. So in some ways, I think it's better that you don't have it. And for anybody listening, that is not a negative in any way, shape, or form, because they're not misleading you in any way, because there's nothing in there, and you've got to ask the right questions of the owners. So absolutely love that, honestly, Hannah. So,
and I think it's important, Tim, really quickly, through our validation process, we want our, potential franchisees to talk to a low, medium, and high producer. I think you have to talk to a mix of all. And if you're exploring other franchises, that's the one tool, I guess I would leave you with, is to ask for a low, medium, and a high producer. At least you can understand and kind of benchmark where you think you'll fall based on your skill sets, work ethic, and your backgrounds too.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times you will find the owners in any system that are middle of the pack-ish as far as revenue actually end up becoming some of the happiest franchise owners, because they're hitting their goals, time they're spending, money they're making. And as a franchisor, you just want happy franchisees. Like the franchisor would like them all to make more money, but they just want them friggin' happy. And so I think if you can kind of wrap your head around that midpoint of kind of, hey, what's the average person doing? The franchise model was built on the average person than doing the average day's work. If you can wrap your head around that and you're good, great. If you can wrap your head around that and you're like, I don't want to be a C student, I want to be the valedictorian. Well, that's a little bit more work. You gotta put it in and be able to see the difference in what's made somebody that top performer versus that middle of the pack person. They may both have equal happiness and equal goals, but there's a different level of effort that goes with that. And to be able to see the difference is huge.
And I think understanding too, that it takes time to get there. I mean, if you want to be a top 20%er, that's not going to happen year one, right? First year is learning. Second year, you start to kind of jog. Third year and on, I mean, you should be running, right? But there's learning curve to everything. You're going to ramp up.
You're saying we're not going to make $1 million in the first week at Linex? What the heck? So and you talked about the national accounts, and I think those are great things for brands, but it's something, and I'm sure you guys do this too. You always want to caution people. I'm like, that's not dinner, right? That's your little dessert at the end. It's your way to name drop sometimes. Oh, I've never heard of hard pressed for Linex people, but maybe somebody's not heard of Linex, so they're not fully aware of what it is. And you're like, oh, well, we have some national accounts like this, and this that are, and I'm not going to ask you to name names, but I'm pretty sure if you did, we'd be like, oh, yeah, we know all of those companies. So it really kind of brings that recognition. Sometimes it helps you get more business than the actual things that you receive from the national account. So I don't want anybody ever to kind of hear that and go, oh, sweet, I just kicked my feet up. Hannah's got it all done for me with the national accounts. There's still all the work you got to do at the beginning. So yeah, we call it
gravy. This is the gravy on top. Is what national accounts beats to.
I have a sweet tooth, so I'm going with dessert, but I both are accurate. Give us, if there's one thing you guys do from a support standpoint that is extra special or maybe a differentiator. Franchise, we have support everywhere, but every brand's got like, hey, we're really good here. We go the extra mile here for our owners. What would that be for Linex?
There's two that I think of right off the bat. The first is we have a 24/7 tech line. So if there's ever any issues with your equipment, we have a 24/7 tech line that you can call. Our average time to answer is about 60 seconds. We have one of our tech guys, he'll tell you, hey, put the phone up to the machine and I can probably tell you what's wrong, right? That just comes with experience. So that's one. I think the second piece, so that's almost, this is going to go into two prongs. That's more of the technical side support. And then also the business like optimization or profitability support. We have an entire business analytics team. And this is what I love about our system. This is something that I am not used to in my franchising career history. A business analytics team that is designed to increase your profitability We're not talking gross revenue. We're talking about profitability and how do we get there. We do business plan reviews as our franchisees are going through that LOI and that securing that lease. We're going to start to fine tune this on how much is your lease payment going to be. You're starting to go through the SBA loan process. Let's make sure we're plugging in your loan. Let's think about how many full-time employees and part-time employees you need to hit some revenue goals that you may have. Once we get through that piece and now they're open and operating, all of our franchisees are assigned a franchise business coach, and we're doing annual operating plans. You want to grow 20% year over year. Okay, how do we digest that into bite-sized pieces to actually be able to hit that goal? Thinking about business development opportunities. We just had a training 2 weeks ago, and we have a franchisee who's opening up his 5th location, and he came back through training with his team now for his 5th location. And I was talking to him at lunch, and he said, one thing that's amazing about the new business analytics coaching that you guys have is Neil, my business coach, called me and said, hey, did you know this month your margins were a little bit less? That's something that I had not flagged as a 5-store owner, so that I'm able to look back and say, oh, this is why, let me make this change to get back to where my margins were that previous month.
Love that, right? Because it's you're in, most everybody owning a franchise, it's the first time they've owned a business, right? And so training everything to get going, but sometimes it's just, how do you do that? Like, we probably could all use that in our own life of like, why do you have 7 subscriptions to watch the same show, right? From those things. So to have that for your business is really huge. Last thing, Hannah, and I'll let you go. But thank you so much for all the info with LineX. Is we talked before we came on. This is a, believe it, you think, oh, it's vehicles, but this is kind of I'll say Instagrammable business as well, or in some of the kind of the followings that your owners and just LineX in general gets. Talk a little bit about that, and then how that kind of helps the owners as well.
Sure. So we are an extremely visual brand. We use visual tools and video throughout our discovery process. We use this when promoting and training. We're a visual brand. It's so much easier to understand it when you see it. And that translates to our online presence too. So I'll plug our Instagram handle, LineX North America, and we have about 95,000 followers. We do massive influencer partnerships. We have 17 videos that have over 67 million views. And when we see one of these videos go viral, we see a nice uptick in our consumer leads. Tim, we're driving about between 1,500 and 1,800 consumer leads down to our shops across North America every single week.
Oh my gosh. Can you do that for Fran Coach? It's crazy. And then for the good old Instagram stalkers, we've now said Instagram, and we've said the LineX Instagram handle. There is not a chance in hell all of us now listening to this are not going to have that pop up with, I'm going to say, maybe like 5 scoliosises on our Instagram later today, and we're going to see something with LineX. So also things that truly benefit your owners, and again, just probably also shows the range of products, not just the main thing everybody knows. So it helps also give people an understanding of like, oh my gosh, there's so many more things out there that we can have done at LineX, which is pretty cool.
Definitely.
So, Hannah, thank you so much for coming on and joining us today to talk a little bit about LineX.
Thanks, Tim. It was great.
Hey, thanks again for tuning into the Franchising 101 podcast brought to you by Fran Coach. I hope these episodes continue to educate you on the amazing possibilities that can be achieved through franchise ownership. In between podcast episodes, if you still want to learn more about franchising and the ways in which Fran Coach can help, there are a few places for you to check out. First, tune in to the Franchising 360 show. It is the only nationally syndicated television show about franchising hosted by me and Danielle Wright. Our TV show airs every Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Biz TV. Next, check out the Fran Coach YouTube channel, which is Fran Coach for You. You can find tons of franchise-specific content there. Plus, you can catch past episodes of the Franchising 360 show. If you like to read, we encourage you to check out our book, Becoming a Franchise Owner. You'll never guess what it's about. And finally, when you're ready to take that first personalized step and explore the franchise industry further, please reach out to our amazing team at Fran Coach. You can click the QR code or find us at francoach.net. There is never any fee for our service, so let us help you create your better tomorrow.